Hello and welcome to the Drummergy Podcast, episode 161. I am here with my buddy James Lancaster.
Hi.
The Drummergy Podcast is sponsored by, we announced this last week, 12th Fret Music.
12th Fret Music.
Yay.
Located at 671 South Capitol Boulevard in downtown Boise, Idaho. And last week we had Rob Ridgway on the show. It was awesome show.
Love
So
Rob.
have you been to 12th Fret Music?
Hell yeah. They have a lot of my money. Too.
They have a lot of your money. This is the James Lancaster wing of 12th
The
Fret
wing.
Music. Now, I've been told, because I'm not a guitar player, bass player guy, but I've carried many. I've heard that they are kind of the go-to place in the Pacific Northwest for new and vintage gear.
Yeah. Yeah, it has a fantastic selection. That's what you want in your guitar stores. Lots of stuff to look at and play and feel and touch.
Yeah.
All different price points, vintage, new. They got a great selection. And I like all their staff down there too.
Yeah.
Good vibe.
It's a place to hang out.
Yep.
It's a cool
Yeah.
place to hang out.
No doubt.
Good morning, Thomas. Now, Thomas is one of my drum students, and he was here yesterday. He's like, so sometimes when I go to watch your show, it's like 7:03 and you're not on yet. I'm like, okay, well, I'll be more punctual. So it was 7 o'clock on the dot there for you, Thomas.
I mean, we nailed it this morning.
We did. We were
Well, I like to go
waiting
through
to start.
to start the show with goofy holidays. Are you ready?
Yep.
Ready?
Buckle up. Here
Let's
we go. Today is National Rubber Ducky Day.
Sweet.
Rubber ducky.
You're the one. You make that time lots of fun.
Did you have rubber duckies as a kid?
I don't remember.
You don't
I have
remember?
some Kiss
I
Rubber
don't-
Duckies, though.
You have Kiss rubber
Yes.
duckies.
The whole set.
Oh, wow. Are they still in the box?
They are not, unfortunately.
Oh.
I have a Kissopoly game that's in plastic still.
Kissopoly.
4 duckies. Yep.
Wow. That's your Kiss collection?
I feel like I need to find
records.
a skeleton ducky.
A skeleton ducky.
Skeleton rubber ducky.
You,
for
well,
James.
okay. I was going to say you should look those up, but we don't have a way at the moment to share that picture of
Oh, I'm looking.
Kiss rubber duckies.
Oh.
And Kissopoly, that's Monopoly, I'm assuming.
Oh,
The
there
Kiss
they
version
are.
of
I see
Monopoly.
them.
Wow. James Harrison is here.
Hi, James Harrison. Hi,
That
James.
is
This is James.
funny.
That's our thing.
That is your thing. I've
Yeah.
noticed that. I've noticed that. It is also National Sticker Day. You know, whenever
Oh.
you buy something like from Sweetwater, you get the Sweetwater sticker and a
Yeah.
bag of candy.
Yeah,
I got a few of those stickers.
me too. I like stickers. I
Me
like
too.
sticking stuff with my
Stickers.
stickers.
Right.
So a lot of my gear has stickers on it.
I've got that Rockstar fridge around the corner that has a bunch of DW stickers on it and Vader stickers and Aquarian Drumhead stickers and
Yeah.
anything.
Makes me want a sticker.
I could give you a Fred Rock School of Drumming sticker.
I want a Fred Rock School of Drumming sticker.
We need to make that happen, producer. You can get James they're on the shelf in there.
Okay.
You could get one of those.
That
Right
would be
now?
lovely.
Sure, why not? It's National Sticker Day.
Oh, geez.
And you're the producer, so chip chop chip. Make it happen.
Wow.
I mean, if it wasn't sticker day, it would be-
Right. Do you have a favorite sticker? Can you think of a favorite sticker that you stuck on something and go, I
don't
wish I
know,
would have
man.
saved it for this other thing?
That's like a favorite song or a favorite food. Or...
They're on the middle shelf on the left in a bag.
Sweet.
Yeah. So you can put that on the windshield of your car.
Love that.
No, in the drum room.
Why did you let me walk over here?
Because I pointed to that room. Everybody's like, what the heck is happening?
Really?
Michelle is here. Jim Reinbach's here.
Hi, Jim.
Yeah. It is also National Make Your Dreams Come True Day.
Awesome. That's
We're-
the best one ever.
We're hitting on all cylinders.
Yeah.
All right, here comes James's Fred Rock School of Drumming sticker. There it is. Boom. Dun 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 dun. There you go. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Happy
Speaking
birthday,
of
Merry
Christmas, how was your holiday season?
It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sure was. Very enjoyable. Very relaxing. Took a lot of time off.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
Spent a lot of time down in the studio. Spent time with family. And then got ready for the hectic, stuff that happens at year end
Oh, with
Uh,
with your
with the school and all.
yeah.
But holidays were awesome. You
Cool.
guys?
Very great, chill, not a lot of commitments to be somewhere, which was awesome.
Lovely.
Yeah. And I think so. Good morning, Gary Tackett. So Mary's band played up at Whiskey's in Ketchum.
Yeah.
So I'm part of the band wives.
Yeah, he's a
in
band wife.
Casio Dreams. Yeah. And so that's always kind of a funny thing. But I think like out of the last 30 years, I've played 27 New Year's Eves, and those 3 that I've had off, Mary plays them.
Yeah.
So it's not, we're never home.
Having Christmas Eve off is wonderful.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, we haven't had we used to play every Christmas Eve for church, and we haven't had to do that since 19.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice not to just be so committed during those
Yeah.
times. So it was really good.
That.
So I'm willing to bet that most people who are tuning in and watching know of James Lancaster or know him personally, but James is a multi-instrumentalist,
Yeah.
a singer, a songwriter, a producer, a studio owner, a mix and recording engineer. You own a hair school.
Run it. Yes.
Run a hair school. And what am I missing? You have a lot of hats.
Yeah. I like the Renaissance approach to music, though.
The Renaissance approach to music. What
Yeah.
is the Renaissance approach to music?
Jack of all trades, master of none.
You're a Renaissance man.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always loved that approach. There's never been a time where I've wanted to hyper focus on any particular part of music. I wanted to do as much of it as I possibly could. And I've spent my entire life, doing that, just segmenting time out so that I could become proficient at all the things that I really enjoy doing. And some of that was a desire to be self-sufficient when it came to production and songwriting and producing my own material. But a lot of it too is just a geeky hyper interest in everything technology. And because I was born in the early 60s, it's like I've kind of lived through everything from the rotary phone now up to
the rotary phone.
Yeah. and everything music oriented, recording and everything else too.
Yeah.
So it's been a fantastic ride, and I've never stopped being interested in doing it that way.
It's a lifelong passion.
Yeah. Because I do get a lot of people that are like, "Oh, I've always, I thought you were just, like I thought guitar was your thing," and it's like it is.
Yeah.
And so are all these other things too.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What got you interested in playing just to begin with?
Well, I think like a lot of musicians, I had exposure to music at home through my parents, tons of albums at home. My dad was kind of into the old cowboy music, Sons of the Pioneers, and that type of stuff. And my mom was, Carpenters and Beatles, and so we had a big sampling of music that I grew up with. And my dad played guitar and stuck a ukulele in my lap when I was about 5, and I've been playing something ever since.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So I met you, I don't know if you remember, because I was this geeky kid that looked like Napoleon Dynamite. But in high school, my friends and I used to start coming to Boise to watch shows to see Child's play.
Uh-huh.
And so that led to seeing Sarge, your band, Sarge.
Yeah.
And many times I saw you at the Mardi Gras with Child's Play. And what were some of the other bands in that circle? Do you remember?
Man,
I would, if I have like an archives of band flyers and stuff from that time period.
If I didn't just have to recall it, I could probably tell you about it. And just thinking back, it's hard to remember some of that stuff back in the late 80s, early 90s. But yeah, that, Sarge was kind of that time where we were doing a lot of shows that, like at the zoo, and what Bogies was before,
right?
It became Bogies, and Sarge opened up for a lot of the regional shows that came through, and I think Midline started doing that. Later.
That's right.
But yeah, that was a fun band.
that was my first introduction to you, was just this high school kid, like, because at that time, Rochelle had a show on J105 on Saturday nights called, was it Metal Shop or something like that? Do you remember the name of her show that she had?
But
Rochelle's Metal Shop or something like that.
Yeah.
It was kind of like the version of Sunday Night Now on the X, where they would feature like new music or some local music would get played, and we would hear Child's Play on there, and LA Calling, and I'm pretty sure Sarge was on there too.
Yeah.
And so my friends and I, we would listen to these shows, and sometimes I'd stay up because it was kind of a late night show, and I'd stay up in my bedroom sitting on my drum throne, wrapped in a blanket with my boom box with the cassette in there, ready to record Child's Play or Sarge or all this,
something that came on that was local. That was,
yeah. And I thought that was so cool to be able to hear that stuff. And then we'd go to the shows and met you. And then soon after that, you had the music store, Pro Sound.
Yeah. When I was working for Welch's Carry, and I opened up a side-by-side Welch Music Pro Sound format. So pianos on one side, the other side was all
the cool stuff.
Yeah, all the cool stuff.
And James Harrison worked there, right?
Yes, he did.
He was the drum guy.
Yeah.
And I knew James because I used to see Redstone also in that era.
Mm-hmm. That's where I first met James, was playing in Redstone with him back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And we developed a friendship and an appreciation for drums, you know.
Because you're a closet drummer.
I am. I love drums. It's probably my favorite. I mean, it's so stupid, but it really is probably my favorite.
As long as I've known you now, I've never heard or seen you play the drums.
Okay, so let me explain a little bit about that. I think because it's a Drummergy podcast.
Conversely, you've never seen me play guitar.
Yeah. I think most people who know me well would agree that I have some tendencies towards that kind of perfectionism, you know, approach.
Sure,
to,
yeah, and I appreciate your perfectionism
to music, and it can be, you know, like not healthy sometimes, but it's part of the engine that drives me too, I think. So I appreciate it. But I don't, as an adult now, I don't feel like I play drums well enough to want to play them in front, like in the public.
Mm-hmm.
And I have so many friends that are drummers that are awesome drummers.
Yeah.
That's where I would feel like that's the people I want to be able to say, why are you bothering? You're not that. Where I think I'm good is that I always think drums. And when I was young, so I said I got a ukulele when I was 5, but I was pulling pots and pans out of the drawers and setting up drum sets. I can't remember a time when I was a kid when I wasn't doing that. Probably more than playing guitar at first.
Oh, wow.
And I got a small trap set when I was a teenager when we moved into the San Bruno Bay Area. And I can't think of a time when I wasn't playing drums. So I was taking piano lessons. I did that for about 4 years. I've always played piano my entire life. I love playing piano. But my freshman and sophomore year, I went to high school at Oceana High in Pacifica, California. I played drums, the kit, in our stage band.
Really?
Years.
Oh, wow.
I went to Crestmore High School in the Bay Area. My junior year, I didn't play drums, but then I moved to Rockland, Idaho for my senior year, just the school year.
Okay.
That's where my wife was. We were just dating at the time. So
Sure.
I had an incentive to I had relatives in the town too. So I actually went to this place, Rockland, Idaho, small town in Idaho. And the band teacher there, Judy Dawson, she was amazing. She had this great stage band, and she actually took the band around to other high schools, but I played kit in that as well.
Oh, wow.
So
Nice.
a lot of my earliest experiences playing in a band format were as a drummer. That's where it started for me. And my whole entire life, I've owned a drum set or multiple drum sets.
Yeah.
As you know.
Yeah.
But as technology changes and technology, I bought one of the cat pads when they first came out with the floor controller.
Yeah, I remember that.
I've always had some version of like a Roland kit as long as they've been available.
Yeah.
I've always had acoustic drums up until my Pearl Masters kit that I sold.
Yeah, that was a nice kit.
That was a nice kit, but it's like, so I love playing. I love programming. I love everything about rhythm and percussion and drums. I think and feel it. I write songs hearing that first.
Yeah.
And I love and appreciate everybody in my life who's like a killer drummer, because I love watching somebody who's really great at the craft. And like in sound check, if you ever play a gig with me, if we're at the Knitting Factory or something, I'll always be out in front while they're doing sound check on the drums, because I love the kit gets dialed in, and then they like play the whole kit. And you just feel it. It's like you can't stop. I don't know. I'm rambling, but
no, I want you to ramble.
Yeah. But that's why I don't I don't play in front of people. I think it's probably just a thing where I have a certain level of where I like to be able to perform, and I don't practice drums enough to feel like I want to play in front of people, but I love playing.
So during that time, like in high school, when you're in the band and playing, where was guitar living in all of that?
Oh, guitar was going full blast all the time.
Was
it? Yeah, a lot of times I'd have like a rock band or something where we were playing outside of, it was high school friends of mine. We were playing outside of high school, but it wasn't, in the actual high school band. That was just that was where I played drums.
Okay. Yeah. But you had guitar going in parallel to that.
Because at the time I wasn't quite sure, I like really loved guitar. I really loved the drums.
But you can sing too.
Yeah. And I started off kind of that early stage. I was huge John Denver fan.
John Denver.
And so I would play John Denver songs. I was writing my own ballads and singing them. And I would, that's how I would perform for people, in groups and small crowds and stuff, any place I could play guitar. And so I just had a lot of that stuff going on at the same time. That's why I say, like, I've never found my place, a part in my life where I just wanted to just be a guitar player and spend all my time doing that. So I'll never be that kind of guitar player that's, that stratosphere, like everybody you see online anymore, where they play so ridiculously well.
Oh yeah.
Because I just don't practice that instrument enough. I practice enough to keep good at the craft, and then I'm on the drum set, or I'm on the piano, or I'm writing or producing music for myself or somebody else or whatever. So,
well, obviously I know you as a very accomplished musician.
Thank you.
But I think we're always trying to strive to be better at what we do, and that's what I really appreciate about your musicality, is this this constant drive to be better, knowing that, like, that's a thing you chase forever, right?
Yeah. And I know a lot of people, and I think a lot of musicians, kind of feel that same way. I would assume, and I know a lot of people play for fun too, and that's great. But for me, music's always been such a weird, like, how sometimes you probably see this in your own students. You have certain students that, they come and they love the instrument and they play, and sometimes they have to be pushed. They don't always do. And then you have those kids that you teach, and it's just like you have to rip them off the set almost because they're so obsessed with playing. And it's like, that's where I've always been in my life with music. And so I go watch a great band play, and in my brain, it's just like, that's all I want when I get on stage. I want to be, so I think there's a part of me that I'll walk off stage a lot of times, and I'll be a little disappointed because I didn't do as well as I felt like I could have. But like I said, it's also the engine that drives that weird obsession with just constantly wanting
I have those
really
gigs sometimes too, where I get done and I'm like, what was that? What are these? It's like, and then you have those nights that are just magical.
Yeah.
You just feel like everything's just flowing, and you could do that all night long.
Yeah.
And you're living in this special place. But I was that kid at 10 when I started playing drums. I'm like, I want to do that and nothing else.
Yeah.
And here I am doing that and nothing else.
I'm glad too. Because we get to play together.
Right. Yeah. So you and I started connecting more probably 2018-ish or so, doing some cover band stuff.
Yeah.
And then and that's where we got Alfred De Verona kind of involved in the circle. And we were going to start a band together with Mary.
Yeah.
that that idea came and went. Was that 2019? Kind of heading into, or maybe it was 2020. It was right before COVID, I think, had really kind of disrupted everything. But
no, it was.
When was it, producer?
Yeah.
Are you there?
Well, this I do remember.
We were talking to you. Did you hear us?
It was.
This I remember for sure.
It was right at the beginning of 2020, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
I remember right.
I think we were all kind of in a place where we were interested in finding something we could take out and work with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And have, full control over not just the song list, but the quality of what we did and so on and so forth. And it's funny sometimes how things just don't, they're just at the wrong time or just something, happens that doesn't quite work out. But yeah, I remember FM radio.
You're right. That's what it was going to be. FM radio. So then, we got our studio started. Mm-hmm. What year was that? 21? Or was it?
It was either the end of 20 or the beginning of 21.
Yeah. Yeah. Where we started putting this whole thing together, and you've had a front row seat to the challenges of having your own studio because you had your own full production studio that you did work in. Let's talk about that a little bit. Was it called Gemini Studios then?
Yes. So back in the late 80s is when I first started Gemini Studio. I actually bought, for anybody who knows, is familiar with the Sun Valley area up at that time, Amos Galpin was the owner of Sun Valley Audio. And obviously that was a fantastic studio setup, but he still had some of his original smaller gear, which was a Soundcraft Series 600 board and a Otari 8-track reel-to-reel. I bought that gear from him, and that was kind of my first.
That was where it started.
That's where Gemini opened. It eventually went to Vostek's G16S, and then to ADATs when they came out, and so the studio's kind of always either been in a place where it was for me to do my own things. I went through a pretty large commercial period for about 5 years where I did a lot of local, everything from jingles to song production to, I was working with Randy Young up in Sun Valley Audio and got to do some work for some major clients, some of the video games at the time, Sony. We did 2 of the Warren Miller ski films.
Oh yeah.
Co-wrote songs that were on those as well. And so there was a small time where, maybe for a few years where the studio was in a standalone location. And I thought, I was going to take it into that commercial arena, and it really became kind of too much of a job.
Sure.
So we scaled back and Gemini's been more of a smaller production, facility.
Yeah.
And now, more than anything else, it's just a place that I try and maintain so that I can have those relationships with people who come to work at Gemini, and I produce songs for other people and for myself. But it's kind of just started back there with a real love for, little 4-track. I was at Welch Music at the time. I worked doing that for years, and we had little Yamaha 4-track cassette decks back then. And just started making, the recordings on those, bouncing tracks over and playing with all the different stuff. And it became kind of an obsession.
We did that, like my friends and I did that in high school. The band teacher had a little 4-track recorder, and he would let us borrow that on the weekends. And we would spend day and night for like 2 days. Just
back then it was so magical.
Oh, it's like you could talk into the thing and then you could play it back.
I know.
And
that's amazing.
And then you record something and you play it back. You're like, oh, let's put the mic in this spot, or let's do it this way. And it was just like all that experimentation was so exciting to be.
Well, what's funny is
part of.
I'm still kind of obsessed with all the new technology that's coming out for recording, and the tools are spectacular, but I feel bad a little bit for anybody getting into the recording industry who didn't get to live through some of that manual, some of that first time manual tracking where you couldn't fix anything and you couldn't use auto-tune and you couldn't anything. Even punching in was a task. You had to like physically cut tape and, all kinds of stuff when you were doing edits. And I think it was just because it was so rare that you could do it, that it was really special and magical too.
Well, now it's relatively affordable for just about anybody to get it. And then all the tools online to learn how to use it, which we've taken full advantage of. Yeah. I say we, meaning Mary.
Well, and it is fun, like watching you guys go through that process of getting everything set up, learning the craft, getting really good at it, bringing all your clients in and starting to do all this work and seeing the fruits of that pay off too. So,
well, you were definitely somebody that we leaned on heavily and continued to seek advice from with all your experience and like there's a calmness to your help, because we could get so frazzled. Like, how come this isn't working? And you're like, you're just one click away.
Yeah, we're just one click away from finding the result, which that's always been my
it's so true.
My go-to saying.
It's so true.
It is, because eventually you do find what it is, and it is usually just one little setting or a click, and then all of a sudden it's like, yay!
Yeah. Well, you've have all this experience, and you continue to be involved with a lot of different bands and styles of bands. And how many bands are you in right now? 13?
Yeah, no, I'm not. Most of what I'm in right now is I would consider them kind of like specialty projects. We don't play a lot. Midline's probably my one constant where we're, always rehearsing, we're always working, we're always communicating, we have some goal we're accomplishing with our music and our writing and all that. And the other projects are just, really fantastic things that I get to do with friends of mine and musicians here locally in town. They're tribute bands, or they're like the Child's Play thing, where we took the group that was together for a short while in Seattle back in the 90s, and we've been able to recreate that here in Boise, and we're playing shows again. We're playing this Saturday,
at the Neurolux,
Neurolux, Still Dangerous and Child's Play 57 Heavy down at Neurolux this Saturday. So I'll get to double dip on that one, where I get to do the Thin Lizzy thing.
I'll be there. I'll be there. Me and JB are coming, I think.
I love things that like stretch me to where it's like I can't get comfortable, because the moment I start feeling like I'll rehearse all my midline stuff and I'm just like, I'm ready to go. And then 2 days later, I've been focusing on something else. And it's like, now I got to go back and make sure I'm ready to go on that. And
well, it keeps you sharp.
It does.
Keeps you really sharp.
It does.
When we got this studio thing working and kind of got to where we knew our way around what was happening, and started doing those collab cover videos, which were awesome.
Yeah, those were.
And while all this is happening, so Scott and Stymie left Midline in 20 during the shutdown, and I've mentioned many times, it was never like it was disappointing, because that lineup of Midline had been together for 25 years.
And had all that history and
and all the touring and the record labels. I mean, all the headache and fun that all comes along with that.
Yeah,
so that
absolutely.
But it wasn't like this weird blow up thing. And Anthony and JB continued to get together, and we would just be in here rehearsing, and we would joke with Mary, like, turn up the bass, because we didn't have a bass player. We need more bass. And we'd always act like some English accent thing, that we slip into, as you know.
Yeah. The universal musician language.
Yes. So it's like most musicians kind of step into Spinal Tap mode, frequently, if you understand that movie, and because it's so true. But we couldn't find a bass player, and we had Scott Alexander do a song with us in a video, and we had a show lined up, and then lo and behold, he's got Dishwalla dates, and it's like, we need a bass player. And I had remembered one time you were sitting on the floor in that room after we were doing some collab video stuff, and you said, I play bass. And it didn't like really register with me at the moment, because I've always thought of you as a guitar player.
Yeah.
And so I was like, no. And then when Scott wasn't available, Anthony goes, didn't you say that James could play bass? And I went, oh yeah. So I called you. I think I was on the road with Cliff and asked you, like, yeah, I can do that. And we got you the songs and we had our first rehearsal. And I don't remember how many, like 11 or 12 songs maybe. And I thought, well, we'll be lucky if we get through 2 songs. We went through all of them because you knew all of them.
Yeah.
In a short period of time, like 8 days or something.
Yeah. Well, the midline songs, the bass is a very active part of those arrangements. And also too, it felt like those songs needed to be played with a pick, and I was a finger style. You know, I play bass with my fingers, and that's what I've always done. And so it was kind of my first time picking up a pick and playing bass with pick too. So there was a little bit of just getting used to that whole. You know, like we mentioned before, if I'm going to play an instrument, I never approach something like, yeah, you're a guitar player and you're playing bass like a guitar player. And it's like, I want to live, breathe the whole philosophy of the instrument, what it can do, what I want it to do, and I've always loved playing 5-string. That's, you know, kind of been my thing from the beginning. And I saw that whole opportunity with midline is just a real challenge. Well, one of the things was we watched the Ghost video. Yeah. And like, I'm a big Scott Alexander fan anyway. Yeah. So I mean, he's an incredible bass player, and the bass line on Ghost is amazing. Yeah. Yeah. And then Chris Collier mixed it too. Right. So we were like, you know, listening and watching the video, and I'm like, oh my God, this song sounds amazing. Well, we're both, you know, fans of Chris's work. And so when the invitation came, I considered it a challenge and yeah, of course I didn't want to show up and not be, you know, it's weird. I've heard other people say this, but I feel it like on a visceral level. It's like your reputation as a person and as a musician, it's so important in this life in general. And so it's like, I see every time, if I'm going to say yes to something, it would almost be irresponsible of me not to follow through. Right. And be really, really good at it, or as good as I can be. And then hope that that's going to be, you know, acceptable or whatever happens to be.
Well, it was, you coming into the band just felt so comfortable.
And we worked well together too, as far as our songwriting and our personalities. And I think that's what makes a big difference in any band, is just
right. Well, in like the old days of the band, like early 90s, when I first got into the band, we rehearsed 6 days a week. Yeah, that was like I said earlier, like when I chose to play drums, I'm like, I want to do that and only that. And that was how everybody in the band was. It's like, I want to do that and only that. And that was like mission one, right? It's just, we're going. Yeah. We're doing this thing. And not a lot of bands do that. Were there that...
Well,
I don't want to say not that dedicated, but just that much drive. And it wasn't just that. It was like the hang outside of just doing music. So if we weren't rehearsing, we were all together doing something. It was like this little family unit was always together. Yeah. And not a lot of bands have that.
Well, and two, at the time, I've always thinks like the very first time I can remember watching you play live, like, of course, like I'm a huge drumming fan. So I have all these idols, you know, Simon Phillips and, you know, people that I've followed my entire life. And the first time I saw you play live, well, I'm a big fan of drummers like, you know, Shannon Larkin, you know, that physical, visceral, you know, like it's a performance, you know, it's not just playing the drums. It's like it's just fascinating to watch. And so, you know, the very first time I saw you play, it's just like, yep, that's, I want to play with that guy. You know, at some point we need to do something together. Yeah. So when the opportunities come up like that, and just, you know, when I refer back to the drum thing, it's because my life's been full of a lot of great drummers on the Latin side, like Sergio Luis, when I did the Rosa dos Ventos thing, Michael from Revolver, when I played the Mexican band down in the Caldwell or Burley Rupert area, James Harrison, who James has always been great because he was one of those drummers that like he always had cool stuff, you know, like the big rack and Redstone and all that type of stuff. So it's like I've been really lucky in my life to play with a lot of really good drummers, and it's weird a lot of times that some of the things I'll say yes to involve the drummer somehow. Anyway, but you know,
there's a lot of pretty cars, but not all of them have an engine under the hood, right?
Yeah. And it's funny because I know everybody likes something different in the way that they perform or whatever. I just gravitate towards that because I love that performance aspect. You know, I don't always like, you know, that question when somebody says, who's your favorite drummer or who's the best drummer? It's like, those aren't really answerable, you know, in my opinion. Yeah. But I sure can appreciate, you know, the ideology behind a lot of different drummers, even people like, you know, Tommy Lee and some of those early crew videos where they were doing the, you know, flipped up platform and all that, you know, just for me, you know, that whole production value and the performance value and the production, you know, it's like even the recording value of getting those big fat drum sounds. That's why I was, you know, loved Bonham growing up, you know, just that big, natural, beautiful drum sound. And I feel like that's what we get with Chris mixing the midline stuff. Is a big drum sound. Yeah. And it's not, if you listen to those first couple of KXM albums and the sound that Ray is getting on, that Chris mixes, it's humongous. Yes. It sounds so good.
We're talking about Chris Collier, recording mix engineer who I worked with, 10 years ago now, I guess it was. I was down there in LA and I recorded 18 songs with him, and he had just finished recording the first KXM record with Ray Luzier from Korn and Doug Pennick from King's X and George Lynch on guitar. And I'm tracking and there's a rack of guitars of all of George Lynch guitars, like the skull crossbone, what do they call that, Scully? He has names for them all, like the Kamikaze one. And like, I've seen all of those guitars on MTV, you know, or Dokken videos, live stuff. And so it was kind of surreal. So that's where I got connected with Chris. And when we were starting to look for a mix engineer with all this new midline stuff, I'm like, let's just have him do it.
Yeah. And the great thing about it is there's a cost involved, obviously, in using Chris. And I'm kind of proud of the fact that we're able to be at a place in our lives where we can look
afford
at
that
cost
to do that.
and afford, because it supports him and what he does, and I love that, you know. And he's so good at that craft, and you only have to like if anybody, you know, who's watching this, if you haven't listened to the most recent Mick Mars album, you got to listen to that album, if for nothing else, just to hear the production, because Chris mixes that, and that album just stomps on the percussion. If you have a good car stereo or a good set of cans or anything, you listen to that album cranked up, it sounds phenomenal. And Chris just delivers that.
He's a great guy, just in general. Like, if you get him on the phone and talk to him, he's
easy to work with.
Really easy to work with.
So
I think that so with midline, you know, you coming into that picture was awesome, because we needed somebody, and we didn't want to just announce, like, on social media, hey, we're holding auditions or looking for a bass. We didn't want to go that route. We wanted to avoid kind of the cattle call sort of thing. We just started kind of going through a list of people we really liked, who we knew could play bass. And some of them we'd contact and they'd be like, I don't think so. Like, the shoes were too big with what Stymie had done. And I don't know, for me, like, I want to preserve what the band is. Like, there's a magic to that, and you're able to provide that for the band.
I'm glad.
I'm glad to keep that legacy of the history of the band, and and without changing like what the band is.
Yeah, we need to be able to reproduce the older material that I wasn't part of.
Yeah,
and do it well, and then do the newer stuff needs to to be unique and authentic and in what we do together now. And I love our new, what musician doesn't say that? But
I love
like
it too.
the song we're getting ready to, okay, so we just recorded a video for our song Sunday here. And that new song, we've been working on it forever. The process has taken a long time because we really fleshed it out and made a lot of changes and went through the production process of getting it just right before we even sent it to Chris. And it's a great song.
Yeah.
It's so fantastic to just be part of a band that's still producing what I would consider to be really good, top-notch music.
Yeah.
And so that part of being in midline for me is very rewarding.
Well, I love it. I love
it's good.
It's awesome. I some of my questions got answered in a lot of what you were saying, but as you being a drummer, the closet drummer, a guitar player, a bass player, a singer, a keyboard piano player, I always like to ask everybody, like, from your position as a guitar player and as a singer and as a lyricist, because you've done your own work, like you've got the James Lancaster Dark Alley Dance album and the Revolution Blue record.
Yeah.
You've been involved in so many things. What do you want from a drummer? What's important to you for a drummer to provide?
Well, okay, so that's weird because part of it's consistency. Like if we write a song or if we're playing a song, even a cover, and there's certain parts of the song that cue from a real distinct or, part of the original recording, like in a cover song, for instance. I always love it when a drummer can find and keep those parts in place all the time because they're so important when you're playing live to have that as an audible cue.
Yeah.
But beyond just a good consistency, I really love somebody who just has a great sense of groove and pocket and feel.
Yeah.
Drums, it's weird to me. Like every song I've ever heard recorded, if the drums don't sound good, the song doesn't sound good to me. It's just like a weird kind of a thing, way more so than vocals. But I love a drummer who loves drums, and I love a drummer who's creative.
I love a drummer who loves drums.
Well, yeah. It's drums. That's a hard instrument to play when you have all four extremities doing something different.
Yeah.
And you watch some drummers that sing or even drummers who have a high performance value, and you're mixing all that in with the task. And a lot of times maybe you have a click in your ear too that's going, and you have to live with that keeping time and not letting it stifle any of the shifting and creativity that can happen with it. But like I said, I get to play with a lot of great drummers, and I've done a ton of stuff with you now. I've done, for probably 30 plus years, I've played with Troy Nickel.
Yeah, Troy Nickel, yeah.
And him and I have done a ton of stuff, and we work really well together because we like similar types of music, but we also think real similar when it comes to when we write music together. Like I'll throw a riff out, and there's not too many times when he's coming in on the opposite side of the beat, like he'll happen along, then I'll correct, and then he'll be like, oh, that's where we're at. It's just like a lot of times I'll play and he's right there. And so I always feel like when you find that chemistry of people that you can work with. Nino was the drummer in Crow when I was down in Twin Falls. We were kind of a progressive, metal band back in the mid to late 80s, and he was that way too. Like I'd throw a riff out and he just seemed to be like in the same hemisphere,
in tune with what you wanted.
And it's hard not to gravitate towards that a little bit.
Yeah.
I love Troy too, so I enjoy playing with him. But Troy and like Jeff Voltz and Ray and Mike and John Faulkner and just a lot of these people that I play a lot with in tribute bands, whatever. It's a lot of it's because they're really great musicians, so they're fun to do things with.
Sure.
But they're also really great friends, and we've just known and appreciated and loved each other for a long time. So it's fun to be in
Yeah.
different projects with
Yeah.
them. And probably if I had any goal going forward, now that I'm in my early 60s, I would love the opportunity to be able to play with some other people. You know, it's like sometimes I get so stuck in my little sphere of the people that I work with, and there's so many great musicians
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
locally, you know, and so my brain's always just kind of like open to like either just do a song or, you know, whatever. That's how things happen. All these little fun projects we do.
So Thomas says someone who has drummergy. That's who you want to play with.
Yeah. Someone who has drummergy.
Drummergy.
Thomas, that's spot on. I don't, you know, it's funny because that is such a hard answer or hard question to answer. Like, what do you love in a drummer? And it's like, I love a drummer who loves drums because it translates to the kit,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And drumming is so different and so unique.
Well, I think it's fun. It's really fun when you get around other musicians who have that deep passion, like talking about being accomplished at your instrument and always striving to be better, not living in that it's not just good, it's good enough kind of world.
Yeah.
I can just slop through that.
Yeah.
That kind of lackadaisical approach to
And-
playing music.
And what's funny is I totally get all the different mindsets that accompany music, because I do have a lot of people in my life that just love the hobbyist approach
Sure.
to playing.
Yeah.
And so I don't have anything against that. I just don't, my brain just doesn't work that way when it comes to music for myself. And
Yeah.
so I do naturally tend to gravitate towards other people who want that same thing, but I don't know how to explain it in a really good way with words, but every time in my life where I've been someplace where I've watched a band live, it doesn't matter if it's a big concert. I mean, we all know we've been to big national act concerts where
Oh, yeah.
it just wasn't awesome.
Right.
And I've been to some small shows and clubs, you know, like, you know, Seattle or Canada or the Bay Area or wherever, where I remember seeing a band and the band was just so good, but they were good not just because they were great musicians. They were good because you could tell they had taken the time to like really
Perfect what they're doing.
perfect that craft. And then it went on stage and it was like, I didn't even care what song they were playing. It wasn't about the song anymore. Then it was about the band
Mhm.
and I would watch that band play any song and I fell in love with that.
Yeah.
And it's hard now because I mean, we kind of grew up in the monogamous band era
Right.
where you were attached to a band and that's all you
Yeah,
did. And the
yeah.
thought of you being in another band was like, how dare you,
Right.
Cheater.
you know,
Yeah.
like bands break up for that type of stuff.
So I
And
have a question. You played with Afrosonics, right?
yeah,
and
for a
then
long time.
Is it Christine?
Still do. Every once
Is
in
it
a while.
Christine New? How do you say your last name? New?
Christine Nunes.
Yeah. So maybe talk about them a little bit because that's very different from.
Well, Christine was part of Rosa dos Ventos.
Oh, okay.
And so that was the world Latin kind of a band
okay.
that I played in here. And then Afrosonics was Misty Dawn was the singer when I was in the band. But yeah, playing in Afrosonics was fantastic just because they're an original band, number one, but they also play a lot of interesting, you know, world-based music. And so it gave me a different avenue for what I was doing on guitar that I thought was really interesting and fun.
Yeah.
That's why I loved the Latin bands that I played in. And playing bass and keys and that type of stuff in those bands, you know, just to expand your horizons, puts you in a place where you feel a little uncomfortable at first because it's not a natural part of your musicality. And so you're having to learn to feel natural with those Latin beats. I can remember when I was in Revolver playing cumbias and bandas and rancheras and, you know, that type of music for the first time. And just how foreign all that stuff felt at first, you know, from just a rhythmic standpoint, and then just absolutely falling in love with Latin percussion and rhythms. And now it shapes everything I do.
Sure.
So when I get a chance to do things like Afrosonics or Rosa dos Ventos, or when Christine and did her Fado thing, which is kind of a Portuguese style of music, and beautiful, you know, ballad style music with with real scaled down musicality, bass, sometimes some orchestra or keys and maybe a little bit of guitar. And we did that for quite a while, where the bass is just very exposed, and you have to be extremely precise. You can't, that's not a place where you can make a mistake.
Sure.
And so the stress of like having to be almost perfect, but that's kind of what I strived on. Was like, tell me to do it and tell me it has to be great. And then I'll listen to other people doing it. And I'll get back to what I was talking about with the monogamous thing. Because I am naturally scatterbrained when I'm thinking and talking anyway, so I apologize. But nowadays, that monogamous band thing is almost impossible to do, because everybody that I know from a musician standpoint, they're typically in multiple projects.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you can't have that expectation where you could draw people to you to do that type of a band where you could make it so great. So now I live in a world where it's like, okay, my brain wants the projects that I'm in to be like awesome.
Right.
But if you're only practicing once a week for 2 hours, and sometimes you don't even do once a week, the amount of rehearsal time is almost non-existent. Mm-hmm. So you rely on really good musicians who can get together quickly and kind of polish up something, and then you present it, and then maybe it goes dormant for a while. And so I've learned to accept and love that challenge, trying not to stay involved in too many things at any one particular time, but always, like yourself, being open to something else that could pop up that's a great experience, or takes you someplace, lets you travel, lets you experience other people.
Right. Yeah.
Other kind of music. And,
I kind of consider myself more of an independent drummer now, where in the past I was only the drummer for Midline.
Yeah.
That was my thing.
That was your identity and your thing.
That band's been around for 36 years now. Wow.
Are you trying to date yourself, bro?
Well, I was just trying to like play out in my head like the timeline of all this. So like going back to what we would rehearse 6 nights a week, sometimes 7. We were just always together.
Yeah.
And then we would,
and your shows were probably spot on during that time too,
there was a period in there of like about 10 years. We were doing about 180 shows a year.
That's a lot.
So that's like 1,800 shows in that 10 year
and
period.
A lot of the same show too. So you get that repetition and that.
So then songs morph a little bit as you play them live, because you might be playing and something happened when you were playing, and you go, I really like that spontaneity of that. Like now that kind of became a regular thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe you vamped the intro of a song way longer than the recording, and it kind of built up. And so your show just kind of keeps building off of that to where you have
you find the things that are cool that you could do consistency. Cause I don't know, I think most musicians would probably agree. There's sometimes when something magical happens during performance, and then you try it the next time, and it's not so magical at all.
Yeah.
And man, I've had that happen so many times and it's fun when you can find something that you can reproduce on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's cool each time we do it.
Yeah. Because we've all experienced that from our own individual position in the band, where you're so comfortable doing whatever it is in the song that like that inspiration strikes for that moment, and maybe the whole band just locks into a hard stop, and then like it was nothing that was discussed, right?
Yeah.
It just felt this natural thing to go that way. So we went from that to where, I was the first, well, I wasn't the first one to get married, but I was the first one in the band to have kids. And so these other responsibilities start to creep in to the picture, just life stuff. It's like, well, I can't be here 6 nights a week.
Yeah.
I could be here 3 nights a week. I could be here 2 nights a week. I could be here once a week. I could be here every other week. Yeah. And so then things aren't progressing like they used to because of these other responsibilities. And that also that we're going to be rich rock stars thing wasn't happening. So what, you have something to say, producer?
I thought this was about James.
Oh, it is about James. I think we're just relating to the monogamous thing.
I was going to ask James, with all the different styles of music you play, like, what is your rehearsal schedule like? How do you learn all these songs?
Well,
that's a good question.
I'm at least for the last 10, 20 years, I've been lucky in that Cindy and I had our family young. And so we've been empty nesters for, 20 years now. Mm-hmm. And I've been able to fill my life back up with more music. Mm-hmm. And luckily, I mean, I would at least give a shout out to my wife, Cindy, who she makes all that stuff possible. I mean, I can't even imagine being married to me all these years and all the harebrained stuff I've wanted to buy or do, and her support's been insane. So I wouldn't have been able to do any of this without her. But we love spending time together at home, and we also are fiercely independent. And so we have a lot of time that we just set aside where we're able to work. And so in the studio, I just have things kind of cordoned off for chunks of time where I'll work on guitar. I'll work on my own songs. I'm almost always working on a song for somebody else, and I'm doing that now with somebody. So we're kind of in the throes of producing a song right now for this person, and they'll have me play a lot of stuff on it, and I'll generally work in the producer capacity where I'm helping to form the piece into a finished song. So the schedule is erratic, and yet it just works for me. My brain kind of tells me I don't have things like at 2:00 on Saturday, I'm going to play guitar. You just
go do it.
The perfectionist part of my personality that wants to be really good at stuff, I'll start to stress out a little bit if I'm getting close to something that it's time and I'm not quite where my brain thinks it should be. And I'll just go do it right then.
Right.
And it could be 3:30 in the morning. Like we were joking about this morning, you wake up and it's I'm not ready for, and then I'll go and, and probably the most disappointing thing that happens to me sometimes is I'll decide for whatever oddball reason to not prepare for something, and I'll put it off, and then I'll have the rehearsal that night with everybody, and I'll be the one that's the least prepared. And I just walk away from that experience just feeling oh, that was not, I don't like feeling that way. I don't want to be that person who's, causing disruptions to the flow or not. Your band sets a benchmark. The moment you hear your band do something and it's just that's awesome, we should always sound like that.
Right.
That's a mistake. That's hard for me because, and all, and Midline was kind of that way with the bass stuff because the band's had so many good bass players,
Yeah.
We think Stymie and then Alf, and
Yeah.
Alf, by the way, is one of my favorite humans.
Well, Alf's one of my favorite humans too. But, you're one of my favorite humans. You're one of my most favorite non-human. That's what Rod Ridgway says. You're not even human.
Yeah.
But,
Tom Keithley's here.
Hi, Tom.
Joining us from Portland, or as he likes to say, war-torn Portland. I can't even say. I can't get the words out. So I too enjoy playing with different groups, but I always seem to come back to Midline.
Yeah. I remember you saying quite a few times about the Cliff thing, where when that first started out, you had that same place where you're standing in an area of music that you hadn't done as much.
Yeah.
So It's not that your skill set won't allow you to be very extremely proficient at it. It's just all that muscle memory and everything that comes naturally as part of our, music inside. It's you just have to grab that feel, and then eventually it starts becoming part of your DNA. And then all of a sudden it's just there I am, I'm good. It's the moment, anything you play, if when I started playing bass a lot, there was just a time when I finally realized one day, it's I'm a bass player and I'm good at it too. I'm not just a guitar player picking it up and, doing whatever. I'm actually a decent bass player. I'm not a, spectacular, but I'm decent at it, and I'm decent at this, style.
You're
of
spectacular
music.
to me.
But you had that same experience, I think, with Cliff, and now, I get to play with Cliff every once in a while.
Yeah.
I have a couple of sub gigs this year.
Yeah.
Again, with
looking forward to that.
What's nice about that is that I get to like play bass, finger style bass. And so many of those songs have great bass lines. The covers that Cliff does, his original stuff's great.
Yeah.
It's, getting to play some of the stuff that Alf writes for the songs too is a joy, and it's fun, and it's a challenge, and those are all.
Well, with Cliff, that was another situation where we needed a bass player. And was the first time you played with the Knitting Factory with us? I think it was.
Yeah.
Where we did an 8-song opening set.
Yeah.
And that was like to us was a flawless performance, and it felt comfortable. And I know, because I've worked with Cliff for so long now in a rock band and with this country Americana genre that he plays now, is that Cliff hears everything, which I'm sure you're the same way. You hear all the little nuanced things that are right or wrong. And as a singer, because you're also a singer, when you hear something not being played correctly and you have to sing a certain note, this wrestling of that in your mind
it takes him out of performer mode and puts him into, like something's not happening quite right now. My brain's not where it should be.
Yeah, exactly. And so that was one of those shows where you came in and you played, and everybody immediately in the band was like really at ease. I already knew what I was getting because we've already been playing together for so long, but just to have, and no rehearsal. Yeah,
we didn't have a rehearsal.
No rehearsal.
That was true. We just went up and played.
Yeah, and that was amazing. It was so good.
Yeah. And that's, this is another thing I wanted to make sure I brought up today, because I think it's an important distinction. I believe I'm one of the rare human beings who have played in a band with both you and Mary.
You might be the only one. You might be the only one.
Couldn't be the only one, but I knew it was rare.
I mean, unless you count church, but because Alf played with us at church a few times, but yeah.
But it's separate bands that you guys aren't in together.
Right.
I don't know how many people know this, but I did the very first Casio gigs.
You did.
Yeah.
You were filling in.
Or Casio Dreams gig.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was filling because Adam was
in Music Man, and so he was dedicated to rehearsing and performing with that.
Yeah, so. He wasn't available yet.
Yeah.
So we rehearsed for quite a while.
We started rehearsals in February, and then that first gig was like the first weekend of June.
Yeah. Yeah, we rehearsed and played quite a bit. And it was fun, too, because at the time, like, you guys are a well-oiled machine now with the full production and show and all the trimmings and everything, like, all huge. But that show for us we were just like, we were at Graney's. It was our first time. We weren't quite sure.
Like,
we were all
sound issues. And remember, we couldn't get the thing the iPad wouldn't connect.
Yeah,
and there was wire Wi-Fi and all that.
Friendship pins.
Friendship pins.
That was so funny.
Yeah. So it's funny.
There's a video of that, of you at our first gig.
I've had people call me to do things, and if I ever tell somebody no, it's not because I don't appreciate their musicianship or anything too. It's just like, it's all experience based for me. Like I'll think in my brain, like, yeah, that's something I think would be kind of fun. And they'll say like, oh, it pays $150. And I'm like, oh, that's good. I love making money playing music, but it's not kind of at a place in my life now where everything is driven by the experience, which to me is like, that's the payday. That's the rich that comes with it for me.
Mm-hmm.
If some money comes with it too, it's like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, like I said, people will call and ask to do stuff, and I'll find myself saying yes to the strangest things, but it's usually because like, I've never done that.
So what year was that, Mary, that Casio Dreams got started?
2018.
So I remember in my mind, I remember you telling me this year I'm going to step out and do a bunch of stuff that I don't normally do.
Like sing 80s pop.
That was singing, helping front a band without a guitar around your neck or a bass around your neck. Just you're all completely exposed.
Awkward. It's still weird for me. Like, if I'm singing, like I do this, I do a Priest tribute band here locally called Priest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I sing, and I do it because I love Judas Priest. I grew up with Judas Priest. I think my voice is okay for it, you know, so it's like something I feel like I can do okay. But I'm still in a place where I'm trying to figure out what to do with myself. Because I've always had I've always had.
What do I do with my hands?
Yeah, always had a guitar or something when I'm singing. So just the idea of just having a mic, and whenever I watch a front person doing a great job without an instrument, I'm always like, that's so incredible. You don't think about how hard that is to like just look good,
right,
cool, or whatever you're trying to do when you're singing. But yeah, that was one of the first times. I don't, it's funny because people say like, oh, you're a singer, and I'll be like, I don't really think of myself that way. I think I can sing, so I do. Yeah, but I wouldn't, like, if somebody says, hey, what's one of your strengths? I wouldn't say like, oh, my voice is amazing. I'd just be like, well, I'm quite the singer. I sing. I'm pretty good at picking out harmonies, and, doing the stuff if you need me to sing backups or whatever. But I'm probably more apt to say yes when somebody calls me to do something that's really out there, either a style of music or doing something that I haven't done, than if somebody, called me and said like, hey, we're starting a classic rock band and you'd be the perfect guitar player. I'd be like, I've done that a lot, and it's like, I don't have anything against classic rock. I love it and whatever, but it wouldn't be my first choice of what I want to do when I play guitar, unless it's like Thin Lizzy or something. Yeah. But yeah, all about the experience.
I never thought about that though. Like, you've played in a band with Mary and you play in a band with me.
And we almost did together.
But not together. Yeah, like all three together. Yeah. We've done the collab cover stuff together.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, the collab.
Yeah, probably.
The Woman in Chains. Oh.
Yeah, Woman in Chains. That's
got so many views.
How many views does that have now?
Oh, it's like 30. Let me see.
Let's find out. While she. So, Woman in Chains is a song by Tears for Fears. And it's such a great song. And it's fun to reach out to different people and say, hey, do you want to be involved with do you want to sing on this, play guitar or whatever, and get different people involved and record a song and do a video. And we should do some more of those. Well,
I've got one that he could play on.
Yeah.
So 32,180 views.
That's amazing.
Wow.
And it's there's probably and there's like hundreds and hundreds of comments. Let's see, where does it say that?
Yeah, that was such a
278 comments, and there's probably 2 out of there where somebody's like, oh, I didn't like this one little thing, and it was like so minor that but all the comments have been that they just really loved it.
That's pretty good on YouTube.
And your guitar solo, it's funny because when I hear the original song, I'm waiting
we
for
expect the guitar solo to happen, and there is no guitar solo.
And I'm like, that was kind of song is missing.
Would you guys let me just throw a gratuitous guitar solo in, please?
Yeah,
that worked out great.
But we've done a few fun things over here. I remember the Baba O'Reilly challenge. It was kind of fun because it was like, can you do the violin thing at the end on guitar? And it's like, I don't know, but I'm gonna try.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be violin, right?
James Harrison says, James turned me on to King's X. Now Jerry Gaskill is one of my favorite drummers. And Cliff says, Cliff's here. Hey,
hi,
Cliff. Love working with James. Remarkably talented, completely prepared, and a pleasure to share his company.
Yes.
I mean, besides being around really great musicians, if that person has the ability to hang and just be cool to be around, that's...
Yeah, and if they have some drum knowledge, that's really helpful. I kind of go back to saying, like, I've been really lucky because I've had people like James Harrison in my life who... in being able to spend lots of time with him, was able to just teach me a lot about drums. And I feel like, just from a practical, technical standpoint, I know my way around a set, tuning and all of the fine points of drums as good as a lot of drummers do.
Yeah.
And I really get a lot of joy from writing and creating. And I don't know if it would be interesting to anybody, but the way I do drums at my studio, I mean, for years, like the DAW didn't exist. None of this, cool stuff like Superior Drummer is like, none of that stuff was around. So we started off, if you were programming drums, if you weren't playing something that was live recorded acoustic drums, it was typically something you sequenced. And at the beginning, it kind of started off with keyboard sequencing, like on the old Insonic keyboards or something. And then you could quantize from there, and you were playing everything with your fingers. And so I've done that. I've done the full drum programming using like BFD or Superior or one of those things too. But my favorite thing is I have my Roland kits mapped out in like BFD to where I can sit down and play 4 bars of whatever I'm hearing in my head, but I usually can't play it like really well. You know, not enough to record the whole song by any stretch, but I can get the basic. And sometimes they're really weird beats too, but I can get the basic thing down in 4 or 8 bars. Then it appears in MIDI information, and it allows me to go in, and then I can choose all my drums and the mics and everything else and produce it, you know, from there. But, you know, writing using a little bit of the software itself and my ability to sit down and play on the kit and do it that way. And then, and on the drums on my songs, like on Dark Alley Dance, the drums took 6 months.
Wow.
And nobody will ever appreciate that listening to the album, that I did all that, you know, wrote all the drums, played most of them, at least in little 4 and 8 bar pieces, and then went through and, you know, created sections and fills, because there's never anything.
Now I got to listen to that album
song. Again. But I just, you know, I found a lot of joy in just right where to put a bell or right where to put, you know, so that the accents, that's my depth of how much I love like drums and writing, and when other drummers do things that are really creative, and we get along really well because I appreciate that about the way you drum and you're drumming. You know, it's always a joy to me, and that's, you know, that's part of what keeps me excited about continuing to write and do more, you know, music.
Well, when we're writing together, like somebody can have an idea, and that's like the cool thing about technology, right? Like somebody can, like JB can record this little riff at home and send that to the band, and so you can have an idea in your head, and then when we're all in there rehearsing and flushing out some of those ideas, JB, and then you start feeding like off of each other, right?
JB is the riff master.
Yeah.
He just writes like the coolest stuff.
Yeah.
Comes out of his brain.
Right.
And it's cool that we can take all those, you know, those things that come out of his brain and mold them into these beautiful finished songs. But, you know,
well, it's kind of cool. And I think everybody that plays music typically has this experience when you're jamming together and you hear something, you're like, wait, what was that you just did? I can add this thing right here, or let's do that twice.
Yep.
So Thomas has a question.
Yeah.
James, did you pick up all these instruments to help yourself out while producing music for yourself and others?
Yes, I did. You know, it started off just as a pure joy of wanting to play a lot of instruments and having that interest, but it did serve that purpose, you know, later in life, that it helped me to where I could just fully produce my own albums.
Yeah.
I never had to be reliant on anybody else if I didn't want to, and yet I could incorporate that in if I did. And sometimes it was just finding the right partner to write with. John Hemingway, a friend of mine that had for my entire life, and we played in Redstone together, and then we did a duo together for years, both here and up in Seattle, and we were that way writing together. You know, it was just like magical, and you don't find that with everybody,
right?
It just that chemistry happens, and then you know you have something. Well, let's keep writing, you know, music together, which is good because that's, you know, I think what kind of drives the midline process still is we're able to create that good stuff, But yes, Thomas, that's a good question, and I think if I could answer that in an even better way, I'd say like that's what drove wanting to practice enough of each of them to be good enough to put them into album form and release them,
sure,
or to play them on stage in front of people. And that's why people don't see me play drums live, because that's the one little piece that my, you know, stupid perfectionist brain keeps me from feeling like I want to go do. That's not the experience that
the scary drum throne.
So he's asking if you could pick only one of those instruments to play the rest of your life, which would it be and why?
Wow.
Guitar.
guitar.
Yeah, I figured that. Yeah.
It's in a weird way. It's my little funky obsession. You know, I love the gear. I always have. It's the one thing that I enjoy buying the most, experimenting with the most, the tones, the guitars. It's an endless fascination for me. I'm fascinated by people who play well. I mean, we have players here locally, like Gary, for instance. Every time I see a video of him playing, I'm just like, my God, the guy is a monster.
Yeah.
You know, just an absolute monster on guitar. And those people who can just play so many styles and that. But, you know, the drive has always just been to be, I want to have good tone. I don't just want to play. I want to, you know, have good sound and do it that way.
Yeah. And speaking of guitars, if you're anywhere near Boise and you're looking for musical instruments, you should seriously check out 12th Fret Music.
Yes.
They're one of those shops where they actually care about helping you find something you'll genuinely love playing, not just seeing whatever is just on the floor. Their staff is super friendly, really knowledgeable, and they'll help you find an instrument that feels right and fits your budget. Plus, they've got a great mix of new, used, and vintage guitars and amps. So there's always something cool to check out. Go see them at 12th Fret Music on Capitol Boulevard, across from the library and the park.
Wow.
And not just because they sponsor your show,
right?
But if you haven't been to 12th Fret Music, you need to go.
Yeah.
It's a really cool store.
It is a cool store. You walk in, the first thing you see is that wall of Marshall cabinets on the left, and then guitars
64
everywhere.
of them.
Yeah, and the Marshall cabinet thing, it is cool and it's unique and it's really fun. But even if that wasn't there, the store would still be exceptional. In its breadth of selection and gear and stuff that's there. So.
My acoustic I have over here is from his store.
Now here's a cool thing. This is a thing in process at the moment, because they don't carry drum stuff. But they're sponsoring the Drummergy podcast.
Yeah.
So I
love that.
I put Rob in touch with Vader drumsticks and Aquarian drum heads, and they've started a conversation. So my hope was that they could stock some frequently commonly sized drum heads and sticks. And
one of the businesses adjacent to them just needs to go under or move.
FedEx, get out of there.
Let's just say move.
Yeah.
We don't want anybody to go under.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And then they could expand in and have a full drum universe, which would be
so cool.
Yeah, right. Cindy Lancaster is here.
Cindy, says, the red one.
She says, yes, you do enjoy buying guitars the most. Thomas Schuster says, James, I know a really cool and energetic drum teacher that always brings the Drummergy that I'm sure would love to help you get more attuned to your drums. Timber Van Loom, what are your favorite new technologies for production and why? Ooh, good question.
That's a good question, Timber.
Okay, so I love Melodyne.
Yeah, Melodyne's pretty cool.
I don't, and I have the studio version. And,
I think you have like the next level up from mine, I think.
Yeah, the studio version is great because of the multi-track and polyphony, the capabilities of the I've never been a fan of auto-tune, but I have been a fan of being able to carefully manipulate notes and performances just to tweak it in a way that, that it needs to be just right. And so, Melodyne.
There's kind of a line there though, right? Where you want to help in certain spots, but that doesn't become the performance.
Right. Yeah. And honestly too, like sometimes you do end up having to fix, if I'm working with a client and I'm just having to fix something, I want to fix it because I want them to be happy with the performance at the end.
Right.
Sure. Again, I grew up in an area where you had to sing it right. And maybe you had to sing it 25 times to get it right, but you had to get it right. So my brain is used to that. But I also love the fact that there's software like Melodyne. And by the way, if you're going to use Melodyne, you have to really learn how to use it. So it takes a big commitment, Mary, right? I mean, it takes a big commitment of time, but the tool is extraordinary. Like the really polyphony version, you can take a piano chord or a strummed guitar chord and it'll break the chord into these manipulable, and there's lots of DAWs that do it now that have the same kind of capabilities. And I'm finding that Melodyne is becoming packaged with a lot of DAWs nowadays, but the full session package, the ability to do some of what you can do in there to enhance. I don't want to say fix, because I think that's kind of a bad word, but to enhance music is phenomenal. I do really like plugins. I don't like the plugins that do too much. Everything's got to have an AI sticker on it now, although that technology's been around forever. But it's like, but the versions of software where it's like just one plug and you just hit a button and your vocals are amazing.
Yeah.
I do think that in some respects, just out of respect for the whole history of recording and producing and what's involved, there should be some learning for you so you understand what you're doing and not just pressing a button or relying on software. But there's so many great plugins now that just have great tones, guitar tones. Neural DSP makes some great guitar plugins. I love those. But to answer, Timber's question, if I had to pick one, it'd be Melodyne.
Yeah.
I'd spend that $1,000 or $800 or whatever it is again and again and again, over and over, just because it's such a great tool. I can't imagine having a studio without Melodyne Studio.
Yeah. And they'll have sales too.
Yeah.
So I've gotten you can get like the first level one, and then maybe they'll have a sale on the next one. You can just upgrade it, and so you're not paying like the full price.
Well, I love being able to have somebody over and just say, like, I want you to emotionally just play this song and enjoy it. Don't worry about missing a note or anything else. Because if a bass player or a guitar player, keyboard player, they come over and they're laying down a track and there's a sour note or two or whatever, I can easily fix that.
Yeah.
But I'm getting the performance I want because they can relax. They don't have to think about, it has to be perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we all know the difference between, like, if the recorder's not on, it's amazing. And then the moment somebody hits record, it's like, what the hell's going on?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But now when I do my own stuff, I'm able to really relax because I can just let the emotional part of the process happen.
Yeah.
And then I can go back in with Melodyne, regardless of whether it's drums or anything. And I can fix those, analog audio recording, something that hasn't been MIDI produced, that I can manipulate it in the DAW itself. But it's a great tool.
And it's I think it's a cool tool for, even if you're not using it for recording, but like maybe you're a singer who you can't quite tell if you're singing on pitch, or if you've developed some bad habits, or maybe you've developed some bad habits in your guitar playing, like you're pulling the strings or something. You can look at that and see, oh, I had no idea I was doing that. And so you can try and fix those things. But it's like a diagnostic kind of tool for your.
Yeah, you can stretch notes, you can change vibrato, you can everything in that Melodyne picks up. They have a tool for manipulating, correcting, softening, whatever it happens to be. So you can take the very, very best of somebody's highly emotional performance, fix a few things, and give it what it really needs without it having that weird, like, I don't like the uber perfect production music thing that started a couple of decades ago. It's not my ball of wax. I like my music to have some human,
right? Yeah.
Well, and can't you run auto tune live now too? Imperfect. So you go see somebody live and they're singing perfect. It's like
nowadays it doesn't matter. Live in the studio, you can't. There's no accounting for what's been fixed or manipulated, and I think that's why I do like my finished recordings to have a little bit of a something. Timber, by the way, is the person that I'm doing the current song for right
cool.
now.
Cool. Yeah.
Nice.
Absolutely great, kind of a dark, haunting, piece right up my alley.
Thomas,
So him and I are currently getting that one produced, and it's a beautiful song.
His band Cardiac Drift is pretty good.
Yeah, they're very good.
They're very good.
Cool
Timber does a lot of songwriting and solo stuff, and he's worked with a lot of people here in town, producers and studios over the years.
He came over here once. I'd be guessing. I'm in a time warp. I lose track of how long it's been. But he came over and wanted some help with the timing of a song that he was writing, and the riff was so cool. It was just like, oh, I want to drum on this.
Yeah.
This drummer's gonna drum on this, but I want to drum. I was just like, I could groove with this pretty cool. It was awesome.
I mean, the Treasure Valley is just like stuffed full of musicians and songwriters and producers, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. And it's an amazingly fertile music area. I love the fact that we're still kind of small, but have this big breadth of musical talent and stuff here. And just from a standpoint of always wanting to be really good, it keeps me on my toes.
Sure.
You know, that's part of what drives me to like, man, there's just so much good out there. I got to keep working hard to stay at that level.
The producer's leaving us. Our son had just started culinary school yesterday, but he doesn't have a driver's license yet. Well, I wanted to go back for a second, talking about Melodyne. Like, I don't know how to use Melodyne. I watch Mary use it.
Yeah, Mary uses it
all the time, and so I understand what it. I can't operate it, but I still, and I think you probably agree, is like everybody still needs to have some ability of talent to play their instrument or to sing or have that. What I'm getting at is like they can make me sound good in the studio.
Oh yeah. Well, I think if you have a lackadaisical approach to being prepared, that can be frustrating.
Yeah.
For the mix engineer, producer, anybody you're working with in your band. So I do think that if you're working in a project where that process is taken very musical and very seriously, then that's the level you should be striving to be at when you're getting ready to lay down your tracks. And then there's this whole other side of music production now where if you're a lyricist and you write beautiful lyrics, you can go to your favorite AI platform, find the right agent, drop your lyrics in, and it'll spit out a song that sounds like a fully produced, and they're good songs too.
It's crazy, right?
And I get the AI technology just goes out and scrapes existing stuff, so it's not like it's creating something original. But I love the fact that maybe that's available, and I love the fact that it also maybe kind of is diminishing the years of work that have gone into doing that craft too. So I live in that weird place where it's like I love and appreciate all the new technology, and there's parts of me too where I'm like, oh my God, it's making me like I'm going to share with one of my great grandkids someday that I did this, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I did that yesterday too in my room in like 5 minutes. So I'm not a grumpy old man yet when it comes to that type of stuff.
We could get close to the get off my lawn thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, for me as a drummer, when I'm going to record, I want to play that song from the beginning to the end of the song as well as I can in time. Without
drums are really hard to comp.
Right? There's like, if I use my whole kit, I've got, including the 2 room mics, that's 15 microphones picking up sound.
Yeah.
And punching in and out, that's like, unless there's a hard stop in the song, that's really hard to do.
It's really tough because you even have the ringing of the drum or the cymbal during a hard stop that sometimes is in there to deal with.
So going back to Chris Collier for a second, we have a hard stop in Onward, that da-da-da-da-da-da-gung.
Yeah.
And the snare drum I used on that recording is my Ludwig Superphonic, which is the most recorded snare drum in history. It's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and it's in the Country Music Hall of Fame. It was the most recorded snare drum. And I have one. It's right up there. That has a very, and Harrison knows this too, it has a very specific overtone or ring to it when you hit it.
Yeah, for sure.
And when I hit that hard stop, you hear that tail of that ring and that hard stop right there.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate that he left that in, because I've had other mix engineers where there's a hard stop, cymbals, everything end.
Yeah.
And it sounds digitized or there's an unnatural
I think
silence
there's an art form to mixing drums when you're using any type of sample replacement technology in cahoots with it. It has to live with the original chording, in my opinion.
Yeah.
When you get into that habit where you're just taking the waveform and you're substituting another sample in and nothing's there from the original recording, you're just losing you have to do weird things. You have to start cutting the the bright work down, because
Mhm.
all those mics are going to have the original cans in there. And if there's not a flavor of that can in the piece itself, the kit piece, that becomes a weird overtone in the mix. And Chris is great at that. It's something I strive to do too. Like when we did Curse the Night together, very much that way. All of your original analog audio recording is all sitting in those multiple tracks, plugs, completely mixed, and then some separate tracks for the kick, snare, and some other things where I've mixed a sample in with it. And it wasn't to cover up the original. It wasn't anything else. It was to add something to it so that the blend of the two together gave me the perfect. So it's like this beautiful thing where I get this fabulous analog acoustic recording and can add some stuff into it and end up with a really great
that's kind of the
flavor.
What I want to do is, being a session drummer and recording, because that's part of my business that kind of rolls slowly, but it's over the last couple of years starts picking up more and more.
It happens.
But from day one, like you hear people talk about, like you have to get your 10,000 hours in to be good at something, right? And so when Mary and I started this recording studio, I said, we don't have 10,000 hours. I want to be able to start recording drum tracks for people now. And when they get those tracks, they go, these are great. They don't have to doctor them to make them usable. I think I got
some of the first ones.
You did. Yeah. And so it's great, like to send stuff to somebody like Chris Collier. And he's like, oh, these are great. Recorded really well. Sounds awesome.
Well, and I know what how his brain is, because a lot of times I'll get analog drum tracks.
And he's a drummer too.
And they're so, I don't want to say poorly done, but okay. There's parts of them that are done so poorly that you're just spending hours and hours trying to fix just to get, a decent sound. Before I even listen to like the kick or snare, I'll just listen to all the bright work, the hats, the ride, the overheads, and everything else. And if those are really spot on, I'm just like, cool. Because worst case scenario, I still have the waveform from the kick and the snare, and I can go in and get what I need. If the bright work's there, I know I'm going to get a good drum sound. And then, like I said, if the bright work's there and the cans come back and and all the pieces sound good, then it's just like, oh, this can be cake. All I got to do is just, work some magic in there and do my thing. Every song that I would produce for somebody that we would do acoustic drums, like Ed Hornung's songs. We've done a couple of those together. Well, they're always going to need a different sound in my mind for the production that we're hearing when we're doing the song on our end. So I always know that when I get the drums back,
because his songs can vary.
So that's where sometimes the sample replacement is helpful, because I can snare and kick, especially like the meat and potatoes stuff, that hat kick snare combination. I can flavor those to match the song production better. But I always have that solid background, in the back going. And I appreciate it. I don't know that there's too many drum mixes anymore that don't include some manipulation of some sort on some level. But man, just having that base, like foundation of stuff be really, really good, that's worth its weight in gold to anybody who sits at the mix desk and has to be on the production side of.
Well, as a mix engineer, like the better the quality of the tracks that you start with, the easier the process is going to be.
It's so weird too, because the drums are a big pain in the butt. I find guitar to be super frustrating too, because it's something I really love. So when I'm recording guitar, it's, as you know, the big room down there has amps all over the place, tube amps and solid state amps and plugins and pedals and everything under the sun. So I'm constantly building some Frankenstein, rig to record with. And so, getting the right guitar sound is paramount to me, and it's really super important. And then I work with a lot of other guitar players like Jeff Foltz, who's one of my favorite, guitar players. And I get to play in a lot of groups with Jeff, and Jeff and I mesh really well as guitar players. And I really appreciate that, because I haven't found that experience a lot in my years, with other guitar players. But, he's such a good player. He really keeps me on my toes. And he is usually good at like all the control stuff that allow for a good sound. So I know if I'm doing something with Jeff and I'm going to have that that same good experience where I just know the foundation of what I'm getting is going to be really good. But I always have a reamp track going. Every guitar that I've ever recorded goes into an AV box, and one goes.
We learned that from you.
Yeah. One reamp track, one going to live, and then I've always got that just, plain raw voltage signal guitar on a track that I can go and rerun through whatever, an amp or a plug or what have you. So
that's exactly why we have those AVY boxes here, is because of like, okay, you're going to record this amp, and once it's in the mix of stuff, it might not be quite working.
Yeah.
But you still have the performance through this other channel, and you can take that one, do whatever you want with it.
Sometimes I shoot it right back out of the interface, and I'll run back out to another tube amp, and I'll mic that up, and I'll let the reamp track replay the performance, and I'll mic it up and and let it do its thing, and reamping is really smart in my opinion. I've learned, like, for my own personal thing, if I'm going to record something, I want to have multiple passes. If somebody's doing acoustic guitar at my place, I'll have them play 6, 8, 10 times. And I'll use different mics. I'll do it in stereo. I'll do it in mono. I'll do large diaphragm, small diaphragm. And then that way, at the very, very end, I can usually take one or two of the tracks, blend them together, and find the sound I'm looking for that particular production. But I've had a lot of frustrating experiences over the years where session is done, there's no going back, and what you have on tape to work with isn't quite right.
Yeah.
And there's nothing worse than releasing a song where you have to make an excuse
right
up front.
Yeah.
Like, this was a long time ago. Or don't pay attention to the guitar. It's all crap.
It's like, why are you playing it for me then?
Yeah.
Here's my new baby. Forgive that it's ugly. I think we missed what. Let's see. Go back up for a second. Thomas, yes, FM Studios uses that Melodyne program. Yep. James's drumming on Dark Alley is very textured, more than just beats. The drums could stand alone and be considered music instead of just background.
Thank you, James.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
And James was one of the, when I first released the album, I had talked to him a little bit about the process that I put into writing and creating the drums and recording them. And I said, it's sad in a way that I'm going to release this album where people are going to focus on the guitar, because that's, what people might think the album is about, but it's not. It's about the songs and the stories. And there's not a lot of flashy show off guitar stuff. The drums on Dark Alley Dance, that's my shining pinnacle of achievement on that album. And I hate to say, like, nobody will ever notice it, because people do, even the fact that James appreciates it, that's like awesome for me. Like, that's the best compliment I could ever get, to have another drummer that I really respect say, like, man, the drums were really, really good, because it did take so long to do it. And I could have shortcut the crap out of that, but every ounce of that song needed something unique that just didn't exist out there in an easy loop or, something you can just toss in and manipulate. So I guess that's a lot of times where, like, some people say, like, do you play drums? And I'll say, there's a caveat there. I'm like, I'm a lover of drums, and I'm a lover of creating drums and everything about drums. I'm just different.
Yeah.
Than a traditional drummer.
I'm going to listen to that album today, because it's been a little while since I've listened to it. Tom says, maybe it was mentioned already and I missed it. Where do you both see the use of AI within music production? I have seen it fill in with correct music theory. Is that what and creating music without putting in the 10,000 hours of music production by hand?
Yeah, I think if it's done right, it can be like any other tool out there. I just think that people need to understand that the technology behind AI, at least at this particular point, is that it's a database that's full of scraped material from databases that exist online, just millions and millions and millions of hours of songs and performances. So when you're using an AI tool, and somebody can correct me if I'm mistaken, when you're using an AI tool, the tool is obviously an amalgamation of all that it's scraped to channel into. So one could argue from an artistic standpoint that it's not an original composition. And yet at the same time, it could serve its purpose in being something that, like I said, a lyricist who doesn't have access to being able to afford and or even know people who could come in and record the music, and they could produce a song and even work with the agent to manipulate some of what the song does instead of just spitting out a finished piece or whatever. But I also appreciate the fact that it could do that too. The part of my soul that mourns the fact that all this work, this 10,000 hours he's talking about, seems to be kind of a lost and forgotten thing for a lot of people, and maybe even more so as time goes ahead. But I see that it could be fabulous when used correctly, and I can see that it could also be the one thing that pushes music into obscurity. Yeah, to where it's so common, I can just write and produce stuff, and whatever you said you did all those decades, it was so cool. It's like, what's so cool about it?
Right. Like you mentioned, well, my great grandkids or someday, like, here's this thing that I spent all this time and energy and a lot of times money into putting together.
Yeah.
Now those people can do in 30
and they'll be
seconds.
Like, I just did an album yesterday in my bedroom.
Yeah.
It took me 30 minutes.
Well, so I think before the AI thing became like, it's a hot topic item right now like, for example, before everybody was talking about AI, like my son Christian does a lot of like EDM type music and all the subgenres of all of that, which I'm not in that realm of music myself, but he can sit on his computer and put together this incredible music. And he's programming the whole thing.
Or video,
right?
Or graphics, or code, or any computational anything. That
he uses FL Studio, and he'll have like 78, 130 tracks or whatever he's working with, and put together some incredible. Now, he's a very accomplished musician himself.
Yeah.
But even people who aren't accomplished musicians I call them computer programmers that are making music. That's my opinion of that.
Yeah.
It's different. It's different than an actual musician doing musician things.
I try and keep the part of my soul that appreciates the fact that the world is so full of different.
Yeah.
And that I can't just categorize music into what I think and feel about it, how it should be or how it shouldn't be. And I think the more that I try and find peace with the reality is that this stuff is out there. And maybe a lot of artists now who hone their craft the old fashioned way, the hard knocks way, the work way. Maybe we're all looking at AI technology as artists in general, regardless of what your genre. I mean, like, outside of artists, there's, people that it's affecting their jobs everywhere, of course, but within the world of artistry, there is a weirdness about it, where there's a tentative, feeling about, I'm not quite sure if it's cool or whether I just hate the crap out of it,
Well, is there a difference between you creating something and putting it out there versus this AI thing created something and you said, look at what I did?
Yeah, I think that's where you need to be careful, because if you do,
I don't know, maybe that might be what Tom might be leaning towards. I'm not sure.
If you're going to use something like AI, I think you should be very forward with the fact that you are. I have an uncle, my uncle Kevin, who is a musician, a guitar player, and we wrote a song together that I produced in the studio years ago, and he's just finished doing a whole bunch of AI generated stuff from all of his lyrics, because he's a lyricist. He writes all these beautiful lyrics, but he was very open about it. I used AI. I get it. It's not like, I understand how it works, but I still appreciate that I did that this song took my lyrics, and now I get to listen to my art, my creation with this music, bed to it that I know I didn't do, but I still, that's where I would appreciate if artists at least were open about it. If you're going to use it, then make sure you let people know, so that there can be a distinction between when you show somebody something that was done a particular way and you show somebody that was done. And music's always kind of been that way a little bit, I think. Even over the last 30 years, there's been so many tools where you can manipulate things, and artists aren't always upfront about what's been fixed or not, you know. But even more so now with something that can just generate an entire composition for you on your behalf. I kind of feel in my heart like, at least if you're just acknowledging that that's where it came from, that's helpful for me.
Sure.
As the old school.
Giving credit where it's due. Yeah. Where it all came from. I think, I don't know, I struggle with reconciling some of that in my mind. Like, I've been telling my students over the last few months, and this was actually kind of was instigated by something Tommy Igoe had said online about the responsibility of his drum students. Like, what are they responsible to learn? And, you know, you're teaching somebody this instrument. And so one of the things was, he's like, I don't chart out the stuff for my students. Like, my students can chart out the stuff on their own. Like, they have to think.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I have a student come and they all have a notebook, and I'll write their assignment in it for the week, what they need to work on. And sometimes they don't ever look at it. And I know some drum teachers will write in their notebooks, sign your name here if you read this. And they'll do that week after week after week after week after week, and knowing that the student never looks at their notebook, right? And so you start teaching somebody something, and then the next week it's like they don't remember or anything. And I said, if I make you think, you get better at what? They say drumming. No, if I make you drum, you get better at drumming. If I make you think, you get better at thinking. So I want them to think through the process. And I think sometimes, you know, with AI and Chat GPT and these kind of tools, I feel like that might start replacing people thinking.
It could damage everything from, I mean, you know, it's already making its foray into television and movies and music. And I think a lot of people worry, like, okay, well, there's going to be a lot of people that are out of jobs when you can do something for a fraction of the cost. And it's really high quality. I think this is one of those things almost like college NIL, where it's so new, nobody really knows how to fix it. It's already kind of gotten out of hand a little bit, but we're all feeling like there should be something, you know, and not sure what it is. Mary made a good comment. She said, AI can help if you're having a creative block. And that's, you know, absolutely true.
Yeah,
you know, if you're using a particular agent on your favorite AI platform to, you know, stimulate something that you need for a piece of music you're working on, or some lyrics, or, you know, rewriting something that you've already written and using maybe some of the grammar manipulation tools to help you to reform words. I was digging through my, cleaning out underneath the stairs in the big room, just to reorganize and to get some stuff tossed out. And I came across a rhyming dictionary and a thesaurus.
Oh yeah.
You know, paperback. Right. And they were just mangled
from being used so much.
And I was like, I grabbed him and I was like hugging him and thinking like
an old friend.
Yeah. You were it before the internet.
Yeah.
You know, when I was writing and doing that type of stuff. And all those tools are still available, you know, digitally or what have you. The method's different. All I want, I think, for a lot of young musicians that are coming up, is to appreciate where the process came from, because I think if you don't have to spend any time learning the foundation of what culminates to what that finished product is, I don't know that you can fully appreciate the finished product as much. Maybe you can. Maybe that's the old person in me that's like, you just don't. It's not cool if you don't know what it took to.
Everybody's got to suffer
to do it, but it harkens back to what I was talking about with recording, where I kind of wish for everybody who's only sat in front of a DAW and used plugins and automatic stuff to go back to using like a mixing board, a Mackie 8 bus with a couple of ADATs or something, and the process of bringing analog signal in through a board into a recorder, back out through the board, and when you're trying to do a mix down and it's 24 tracks and you're dancing, you're turning effects on and off. And it's like, you get to the very end, it's like, oh crap, I almost had it. And then you got to do it again. And it's like, you mix that song down like 100 times before you finally get it perfect. And then you just pray like your DAT machine or your Master Link or your, 1/4-inch reel to reel or whatever you just like, don't die.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen videos, from, old school mixing ways where they've got 3 or 4 people on their hands of the faders, and there's no automation, right?
Yeah.
And they're doing this and hitting certain effects to have this whole orchestrated thing to get.
I've done a couple of mix with multiple people. You have your job, and this is what you're punching in and out.
Yeah,
and where you're changing your volumes, and there'd be tape and little marks all over the place, so you knew exactly where you were sliding the slider for this part. And the reason I love having that experience is because it helps me to understand what I'm doing in the DAW.
Yeah.
From a functionality standpoint. And I will always, like my productions, I'll typically take way more time than anybody could ever pay me for to do a song. But it's just because I have that love of the finished production that I want to be so good,
Definitely. Well, I just, I remember being in studios, younger studios down in LA and even here, there's this massive board, this massive console, and the 2-inch reels and the massive patch bay of remember, and it's just like spaghetti of cables in the patch bay. It's like none of that really is a thing anymore.
Yeah, there's still, it's still around. Obviously, there's some studios that way. It's one of the reasons I really loved working up at Sun Valley Audio so often, because we recorded all of our Sarge stuff up there over the course of like 3 years. So there was probably 20 different songs we went up and paid. It was $60 an hour back then.
Wow.
And I was paying for most of that.
Yeah.
It's like I was talking about my wife, being such a good partner in this whole musical thing. It's like,
exactly.
That was kind of the level that I always kind of felt like I wanted. Like we could have recorded, in a different place, but it's like, nope, I want to go to Sun Valley Audio and have that experience. And
I think the home recording studio has become a pretty common thing.
Yep.
There's a lot of people that have.
You got a laptop, you got a studio.
Right.
And a decent pair of cans.
Yeah. I think for recording drums, having a space to do that, like what I have, that's not everybody has that.
No. That's why I don't do acoustic drums anymore at Gemini.
Yeah.
I used to.
Yeah.
Like the Revolution Blue album was the last acoustic drum performance I recorded there, because it just takes a lot of work. You have to have the right room. You have the right mics, and the drums have to be ready, and they have to be tuned. And then, there's just so much that goes into making sure that performance is good. So it's like, you have to be dedicated to that process. It's cool that you have that.
Yeah. Well, when I went to record for Ed Hornig, he came over and he was like, I had no idea. He goes, I thought you just had your drums set up in the living room and some microphones. I didn't realize this was like a studio.
Yeah, it's a full thing.
No, I needed it to be. Mary says Fred has a student who's been creating music on his iPhone and GarageBand.
Yeah, I do that too.
Yeah,
GarageBand's a great. I mean, it's been around forever, but it's
now
a fun little tool.
This student is a really accomplished pianist, and he can play drums really well. And sometime this year, his dad got him an interface, so now he can just take the stereo out of his digital kit, and he can actually play along. But he's been putting these little clips up on TikTok, 1.9 million listens, and like this, just it went off like crazy.
That's so smart. The new generation of musicians coming up, they're trained in something that is still a bit of a mystery to a lot of older musicians. They have that whole. Their world is kind of their oyster. If you've got the drive and the ability to sit down and learn and research and a little bit of, just some good natural talent and throw it in there. It's like, world's a pretty interesting place.
It is. Yeah. James Harrison, if one climbs a mountain, they have a sense of accomplishment and they know how to get down. If a helicopter drops you on the top of the mountain, no sense of accomplishment and no clue how to get down, but you can say you've been to the top. That's my evaluation of AI dangers.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. From the standpoint, you still have that beautiful view when you get dropped off at the helicopter up top that you wouldn't have if you weren't standing on top of the mountain. So there's that. But yeah, you have zero appreciation for the work it took to get, to the top so that you could have that
Right.
view. And that's part of why I think the world is so interesting with AI, because everybody looks at it so differently.
Right. I had a similar comparison that was made, like when people want to learn to play the drums, they want to get to what they would say the good stuff without all the others. So somebody said, are you an elevator man or are you a stairs man? Like, you're going to take the stairs to get to the top, or are you taking the elevator? Like, you're missing a lot of steps in all of that, right?
Yeah.
Greg Goodell, recording acoustic drums is one of my favorite parts of the science. Half of my mic locker is dedicated to drum mics.
Yeah.
We have a lot of drum mics here.
It's so, Greg, that's, it's funny too. There's something that's just absolutely spectacular about taking the time to mic up a drum set and getting that recording back, and then being able to manipulate it and do it. It's an art form that you hope doesn't die with the convenience that's available, but the convenience has been around for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
AI, that's nothing compared to what's been out with drum software and stuff, where you can create, decent drum tracks without an acoustic drummer, and still, acoustic drums are out ruling the day. I hope that never goes away.
Me either.
Yeah, I hope that never goes away.
It's acoustic drums.
I hope there's just always a place in music for live performance, live recording, all that stuff that we all grew up and love, and that there's an appreciation for that maybe by the youngsters that as they grow up, that they'll love the technology and what they can do with that, but that they'll also have an appreciation and a love for that other part of the craft. And I guess that's the part where we just have to wait and see how that all fleshes out as the tools get more.
Yeah. That's why it's exciting for me as a drum teacher to see where my students may be going with any of that.
Yeah. Nothing like playing in a band.
There's nothing like playing in a band.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of cool stuff out there. I'm not like saying musicians are, I kind of am, aren't I? But there's not, but there's just nothing like playing in a band. I was in rehearsal last Tuesday with Still Dangerous. We're doing the Thin Lizzy tribute show this Saturday. So we get together for a few times, polish up our show. We played the song Bad Reputation from the Thin Lizzy album. And when we were done, I looked around the room and I was like, man, I feel sorry for anybody who hasn't been able to play that song. And everybody else was like, yeah, because it's one of those things where you just feel like that experience of like being in a room with other human beings.
Yeah.
And like recreating either something you wrote yourself or something that you really appreciate from somebody else, and doing it on a really high level and doing it really good. And then you just think like, man, it's the best, outside of my family, there's nothing in my life that's more perfect than.
Same for me.
When the notes, like at the very end, the note's done and you just feel like, I've never felt higher. I've never felt happier. I've never, again, family aside, right. Just saying like, that music thing is, it's intoxicating.
It is. It is. That's where I experienced that at the age of 10, and it never left me.
That's why music lessons are so important. Everybody out there who's making a living doing, guitar, piano, it doesn't matter, harp, vocals, doesn't matter. Man, I just hope that stays strong and always stays good, because you just want those bands, because I think that's where every generation, young and old, whoever decides to come, to the trough and sample from the music, water, it's like if we can just keep that going, I think there'll always be an appreciation for that hard work style. Agreed. Of like practice, play music, have the joy of it. That we can't reproduce that with technology, at least at this point. So I'm happy that that's still alive and well, and I hope that's what keeps fueling what we do.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
James, thanks for being on the show today.
You're most welcome. My pleasure.
So awesome. I get to hang with you so often. Real quick. So Greg Greenlee says, James is one of my favorite local guitarists, great tone and very tasty player. His album with my friend bassist and singer Ed Horning, Revolution Blue, is in my regular playlist rotation.
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate that very much.
Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next week, and I'm going to have drummer Trey Bledsoe on the show from Kentucky.
Sweet.
All right. Have a great one. We'll see you later.